Alright guys, today I'm going to be going over my top spring pike baits for fishing in Ontario. I absolutely love spring pike, arguably more than bass sometimes. Spring pike is pretty much like one of my favorite types of fishing of the year throughout the month of May and a little bit of June. Absolutely smash pike, and I have a few baits that always work. It doesn't matter where I am, they always work, and I can guarantee you use these baits, you will catch too. So I'm going to go in the order of my top 3 in order, and then I'm going to give an honorable mention as well. Starting with number 3, the soft body swim bait. So there are different types of swim baits, but pretty much any soft body swim bait, which is this soft plastic material, will work. These swim baits are pretty much, swim baits like this are good for any type of fish anywhere. Everyone knows that, but for spring pike, they do slam. Now there's a couple different types. There are swim baits like this, which are more, they have more to them. You know, there's a hook coming out the top, there's a treble on the bottom, there's a weight built into it, and then there's more swim baits that you see, especially a lot of the bass guys use, where it's just pretty much a paddle tail and then a jig head on top. This could be just any ball jig head or any jig head with a paddle tail, or the ones that sort of come pre-assembled like this. I think that's up to personal preference and what you like better. Personally, I like these ones more. I've caught more on these ones than on this style. Actually, this Savage Gear makes the swim bait, and the one size smaller than this was an absolute killer, which I can't find in stores anymore. But any swim bait about this size, even a little bigger, even a little smaller, works great for spring pike. A straight retrieve always works with these, but I find if you want to put a little sauce on your retrieve and to trigger a little bit more strikes, what I would do on the retrieve on these is I will cast and reel, and then sporadically throughout the retrieve back, I will give it a little pop, a little twitch, like 1 or 2 small twitches with the rod, and even before the twitch, I'll sort of bring my rod tip closer to the bait so it creates a little bit of slack, so the bait is swimming, and then just kind of like maybe nose dives for half a second on the slack, and then twitch, and then continue swimming, or reeling and then switching directions with your reel on the way in. So switching directions, giving it a little tick on the reel back, I find it entices more strikes and will catch you more fish on these types of swim baits. And these swim baits are good because you can use them shallow, you can use them deep. If there's fish sitting out deeper, you cast, you let it count down to the bottom, you reel it up. But a lot of the times with spring pike, you're going to be fishing mostly shallow, and these are obviously great shallow. If you're fishing too shallow with a lot of weeds, I would just cast, and basically before it hits the water, just start reeling it back. Keep your rod tip nice and high to keep it just out of those weeds and just subsurface. But yeah, I'd say these are definitely my number 3s. These are definitely pike catchers for sure, and I think you guys should definitely have one in your tackle box. I'd go with this model over these types, but I know a lot of people who've also slammed on these types and not these types. But definitely need one in your tackle box regardless. Alright, number 2, the spoon. Old time bait, probably one of the oldest baits ever. Oldest trick in the book, one of the best tricks in the book. So, I actually was sleeping on the spoon for most of my pike career. In the last few years, I put myself on it, and I have put so many more fish in the boat. And the good thing about a spoon is it does what a lot of other baits on this list cannot. So it fills a niche, which I'll explain in a bit. Anyways, there's different types of spoons. There's the traditional spoons you see with the one treble hanging, but personally, this is a spring pike video. The best type of spoon for spring pike is a weedless spoon, like these Johnson Silver Minnows. So you can see how there's a weed guard here, and there's just a single hook, as opposed to a spoon that has just a single treble. Couple different sizes. These are the 2 sizes I use. I believe this one is like an 1.25 ounces or something. This one is a 3/4 ounce. They also make a 1/2 ounce, but 1/2 ounce is a little too small and light. And these spoons are absolutely amazing. Gold, silver, red devil, any color you want, doesn't matter. The shine on them is incredible. The flutter is incredible. Where they shine the most is very skinny water, very shallow, very weedy water, where bait number 1 on this list and where the swim baits would normally pretty much get hung up all the time. That's where you kick out the spoons. I use the spoon for spring pike when it's too weedy to pretty much use anything else. Now, can I use it where there's no weeds? Yes. Have I caught fish there? Yes. But I find it shines the best when other baits can't even be used in the weeds. These spoons, probably one of the most weedless baits I've ever thrown in my life. So it doesn't matter what type of weed you're throwing, a steady retrieve will bring these right through, no problem, 100% of the time. Now, I told you how to work the cadence of the swim bait to give you a little bit of an edge. I'm going to teach you how to work the spoon now to give you a little bit of an edge. Normally, people will just cast and reel, straight retrieve. Nothing wrong with that. You'll still slam fish. But if you want to outfish your partner, probably 2 or 3 to 1, and I know this because I've always done that with my partner till I finally told him the secret and put him on, is similar to the swim bait. When you reel with the spoon, you want to reel and give it a little pop, pop, reel, pop, pop, all the way back to the boat. Do this maybe 3 to 9 times, just giving a little pop on the way back to the boat. But the way you do the pop is a little specific. So you're reeling your bait back to the boat. What I will do is I will turn my rod tip towards the spoon to create a little bit of slack line. I will stop my retrieve so the spoon will be coming along. I'll turn my rod to the bait a little bit, stop reeling for half a second, which will create a little bit of slack and allow the spoon to pendulum downwards for the half second you let it, and then give it a little pop, pop. So it pendulums and then pop, pop, it pops up and then back to its straight retrieve. I will repeat this, like I said, probably like 3 to 9, 10 times, depending on how big my cast is, all the way back to the boat. So reel, 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 slack, pop, pop, reel, 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 slack, pop, pop. And this slack, pop, pop lasts for like half a second. Reel, 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 slack, pop, pop. Letting this spoon flutter for half a second and then pop, pop, and go back gives off a crazy amount of shine, and it just looks like an injured bait fish just barely able to stand on its 2 feet and get away, and the pike will just smash it after the pop all the time. So this is like even giving number 1 a run for its money for spring pike. But definitely get a weedless spoon in your arsenal, especially for those skinny, super weedy areas that a swim bait or other baits can't get to. Okay, before I go into number 1, I'm giving an honorable mention to the inline spinner or bucktail. Classic bait. Everyone has these. Everybody knows these. I don't use them too much, but I know they catch. People on my boat have caught with them all the time. I have caught with them, just I don't use them enough to catch a lot on them. These are a staple, obviously. Everybody knows. You cast, you reel, you can't go wrong. The size, I would say anywhere from these guys, which is a MEPS number 5 and up. You can go smaller, but I don't really think you need to for spring pike. You know, pike want the bigger side is better generally. What I would do reel wise is you don't want to let the blade stop spinning ever on the retrieve. So you can't really stop and let it sink like you could with the other baits. So what I would do to add some flair in your cast with these is to switch directions. So you're reeling and then you switch directions across your body so the bait at least like moves directions in the water, or as you reel you kind of give it like a little drag and then keep reeling to give it a little boost, a little bit of erratic action while still keeping the blade spinning. That's the key. You always want the blades on these to be spinning the whole way back. So that's what I would say for these. Definitely have some in your tackle box. They are pike slayers. And yeah, let's get on to number 1. And number 1, the pike slayer of all time is the jerkbait. Jerkbait is just one of my favorite baits in general, but a jerkbait will slam pike 25/8, 365 days of the year. It's absolute killer. I will outfish anyone for pike on a spring. Anyone in pike on a jerkbait any day of the week. Jerkbaits are just absolute killer. They may not catch the biggest pike all the time. I will say that the swim baits, probably, and inline spinners might catch you some of the bigger pike, but the jerkbaits will catch you the most pike all the time. So now, if you want to know how to work a jerkbait properly, I have a video up for that. I'm going to link that video in the description. Watch that video so you know how to work a jerkbait properly. So I'm not going to teach you the cadence and stuff in this video. I have a whole video explaining it, so watch that video. But what I will say is I'll give you some options on jerkbaits to buy. As for size, there's 3 different sizes here. This is about a 110 size, which is 110 millimeters. Then we got a 120 underneath. Then the bottom, I think, is a 130. This is the smallest. This is the second smallest. This is the second smallest. This is the biggest. Now, which jerkbait should you buy? Well, let me tell you. There's 3 that I would suggest. And I know a lot of people are going to fight me on number 1, but I don't care. Best budget jerkbait and all around fucking solid jerkbait. My first love, this was probably my first love, is the X-Rap. X-Rap, I don't really talk to her anymore. We don't go back and forth anymore, but she was my first love, and I would happily go back to her any day of the week. But I'm moving on to bigger and better these days. But a Rapala X-Rap, you cannot go wrong with it. easiest to find in any store. Pick one up. They're absolutely great. Now, the one that I use on the daily is the Megabass 110. Now I know everyone says, "Oh, why do you use Megabass? You're gonna fuck it up. It's gonna lose all its paint for bass." Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know it is, but I like using them for pike specifically, so I'll use them for pike. And if it fucks up, I'll just buy another one. Anyways, this one is a little bit bigger. This is not the normal 110 size. This is like the 130. My 110 is on my rod somewhere, but same exact style. Megabass Vision 110 or 130 if you want a little bit bigger for pike. I'd say is the absolute best jerkbait on the market, period, for any fish. So that's why I use it for pike. It's just the best jerkbait on the market. But what you're gonna have to do with it when you fish for pike is the hooks that come with it suck. They're okay for bass because bass are weaker, but the hooks are very fine and small, and they're very easy to snap and bend. So what I would do is I would switch all 3 hooks on the jerkbait for for size 4 trebles. Buy any pack of treble hooks, size 4. Switch all 3 of your Megabass hooks to those hooks if you use them for pike. Because when pike are strong, when they wrap in the net, if you want to lift them up into the boat, or even when you're fighting, you need better hooks, and that's why you replace the hooks. Because the Megabass hooks that the bait comes with are terrible. They will bend out every single time on pike, so please change your hooks if you're fishing them for pike as well as bass. For bass, the hooks will bend sometimes, but you don't need to switch them as bad as you do if you were fishing for pike. Okay, so that was that. All right, and a third jerkbait I'll give you. So I showed you my first love, which is the X-Rap. My main girl is the Megabass, but my side chick is the Duo Realis. And she is the craziest, definitely the craziest. We have the most fun together, but I don't use her all the time. I only go to her sometimes when there's a problem with my main chick. So the Duo Realis actually has the most erratic action. It's the most craziest action, most erratic action out of any jerkbait I've ever thrown. So that's a big plus it has. Plus, it's a little thicker than the other jerkbaits. So even if it's the same length, has more shoulders on her. So like it has a bigger profile in the water, which is good. You know, you fish for pike, bigger profile. But I would definitely cop a Duo Realis. It's in between the price point of a Megabass and an X-Rap. Megabass being the most expensive, X-Rap being the cheapest. It's in between. And like I said, craziest action ever. Arguably better than the Megabass in some scenarios, just because the erratic action is absolutely crazy. The only reason I don't use as much as I should is because when I'm using a leader for pike on jerkbaits, the Duo Realis will tend to hang up on itself a lot. The Megabass doesn't, so that's why she's my main girl. She gives me less headaches. She might not be the craziest or the hottest, but you know, she gives you less headaches and she makes you feel the best. So that's the one that you're gonna stick with long term. So there you have it, my top spring pike baits. First being the jerkbait, second being the spoon, third being the swim bait, honorable mention inline spinner. I guarantee you buy these 4 baits this spring, you will catch pike in Ontario for sure. If you don't, comment under my videos, give me shit, and I will make sure that you catch on these baits. All right, boys, if you disagree or you have any other baits that you want to add that you think I missed, well, actually, these are my top 3, so I didn't miss any, but leave them in the comments if you have anything else to say. See you on the next one, boys.